the moment. Felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it. Just wanted to take the time. Learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today. Okay, so tell us, you do so many things, but you're a great photographer. So tell us a little bit about how you got into it.
So I've been doing it for a while. I want to say about 6 years now, I think. I started when I was really little. My grandma gave me my first camera. I was like 5 years old, running around the house taking pictures. And then I grew up in the era of YouTube, so I saw a bunch of YouTubers kind of making content, and I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to be someone who can produce things with my friends. So then I started saving up money when I turned 18 to buy a camera. Eventually bought it. Then, yeah, I just kind of started doing my own thing, taking pictures. Didn't have a company or a brand or anything or a name for myself, but that's how I started.
And you know, because I've always wondered about this. I mean, now it's like everyone thinks they could do everything by themselves. You know, everyone thinks they could have their own show. They could do their own camera. And well, especially now that we have iPhones, so everyone is just like, oh my gosh, I'm a photographer. How is it working in that kind of world where you're like, no, there is a value in lighting this, all the things you had to be self-taught and learn how to do. How's that been for you?
Well, I think I'm kind of the odd duck in that scenario, just because I actually tell people, like, when they ask me, like, what do you do? I say I make cool stuff with my friends. That's literally what I say, because I feel like the term photographer, it is very broad. And I think at the end of the day, that's why I do what I do. I like producing something that I can give to someone else, whether it's my friends, whether it's shooting a wedding, doing a fashion show that I've done like here in Fresno and Clovis, just producing stuff like that. But I am all self-taught. I used to be in my little dungeon in my room just watching YouTube videos, YouTube University, how to teach myself. And from there I learned everything from photography, graphic design, videography, just a little bit of everything.
But you know, there's so many elements. It's not something you could just go pick up. I'm a photographer. I mean, that's, wow, so there's a lot of dedication.
It's taken a lot of time, and it's something I really like. I hope one day I can continue to do it on a bigger scale. Even now at my current job, I do mini documentaries. So I'm learning from, you know, just starting out something small, making videos, to now doing a whole big production sort of video. Now it's taking me a long time to learn, but I enjoy doing it.
Well, I really love the story you told me, and I'd love for you to tell our viewers about it. This was not really what you were supposed to be doing. And the person that you were working for told you to do this instead. So tell us that story.
So I grew up in a very conservative home, very religious. So my parents wanted me to go a very traditional route of, you know, becoming something like a doctor, a lawyer, anything in that sort of field. Just because, you know, they worked really hard to get to where they were, they wanted me to do the same path. Well, I got a traditional job working at a school, and I worked with a teacher named Diana Boyd. Shout out to her, she is amazing.
My cousin, shout out.
She's amazing. She really changed my life. I just went to an event for her. You know, I was always telling her that I wanted to do something in a creative field, right? Whether it was clothes, like fashion, whatever. And I remember showing her just pictures that I would also take on my phone, and she's like, hey, you should buy a camera. I'm like, all right, let me do that, right? Bought my camera, I would take all my content to her, my work, and she would always be the first one to compliment me. You know, when I went home to my home life, it wasn't that same experience. My parents said, you know, you can't make money doing that. You can't do that. You won't be successful.
No, we grew up in a similar family. I get it, girl, that culture, yeah.
Very traditional home, and I think now my parents have seen I've become very successful doing it, you know, just really believing in myself. And it took for her to tell me that, you know, your work does matter. I think that's why, especially in the art scene, I always try to give people, you know, like that sort of shoulder that I'm there for them, because I didn't have that. And, you know, I wanted my family to be there for me. And, you know, now they are my biggest support system, but I think they had to see that I can make money doing it, I can, you know, be successful doing it. And, you know, I'm happy to have that. Miss Boyd believed in me, because if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have been where I am now.
That's so cool. And like, again, I always like to get personal with everybody, but like, okay, I know in the Central Valley, because we do a lot of similar services, I know how people are, like mindset, and nobody wants to pay a lot for anything, and everyone's like, you know, no, that. And I know it's so hard to get paid what you're worth, and you probably, I mean, a lot of us aren't even doing that. We're still going like a little bit low of what that is. How did you come to terms with that, with even like pricing and rating? and working with the mindset here, because that's why I say a lot of people are like, what's the value? I can just do the, how did you navigate through that? Because that's probably a part of what helped you be successful.
So I think I'm kind of, again, I'm the odd duck in that situation too, just because, I didn't come from a lot of money or being able to afford like things like that, right? Taking pictures of someone, it could be a luxury sometimes, whether you're doing it for a wedding or a quinceañera, or you're taking pictures for someone. Some people can't afford it. So I'm a very personable person. I'll meet someone and I'll be like, hey, like, what can we do to make this work, right? But at the same time, on the same scale, I do know my value.
Right.
And especially in the job that I am in now, I'm always fighting for what I'm worth, which I think is a lot. But I'm always fighting for better for myself. But in situations where I know someone can't afford it, I think that's why people do come to me, because they know that I'll work with them. And I feel like I'm always fair, just because I know that, what I do is taking pictures of people. It's not just like, hey, it's a photo, taking a picture.
And you're editing. There's so much behind it. You have the setup, like the set down. I mean, I know it's a lot of work.
And it's something that someone's gonna value, like the pictures that I have from when I was younger. I cherish them like they're gold, right? I have a little box under my bed that I keep with photos that really mean a lot to me. So I know if I feel that way about photos, I can only imagine how other people feel as well.
So how do we hire you? I see a lot of your beautiful stuff on Instagram. Is that a way to reach out to you? How are some of the ways we can reach out to you?
So social media is always the best, just because I feel like that's what I'm always on. But I do have a website. It's called discoprincess.com. And that's where people can message me or find my email on there and then just send me a message.
Because you're that 70s disco
Yes,
queen.
which is a whole different thing why my name is Disco Princess. I feel like I always tell people it's because I'm obsessed with the 70s, which I am, but I feel like I relate to disco ball. It's not flashy when it's not on, but when it's on, it's mesmerizing, and I symbolize with that because I feel like that's kind of how I am.
I love that. So what are some of the things, like your theme photography and stuff, what are some of the things that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet as far as like a photo shoot?
Maybe more styled shoots. I do them now, but I want to do them on a very large scale with a lot of people.
So what kind of style?
So it just depends. I'll come up with themes. I'll kind of get creative with it, and I'll find some friends or a friend, and I'll be like, hey, I'll send you all these ideas of inspiration I have, whether it's from a decade, an era, or it's a situation, and I'll be like, hey, let's create this. But I've only done that like one-on-one. So for instance, I did a shoot with my friend Tevin. I told him, hey, we're going to do a scenario where you're this hardworking man and you're walking home from work, and I'm going to have you super, dressed to the nine with a briefcase and a little blazer. So I went to local vintage shops to thrift some stuff, BBOs and Yoshi Now. Those are the best vintage stores in Fresno. And I went and bought some stuff, and then I kind of put his outfit together, took him around Fresno, took pictures of him. And yeah, I posted those pictures online. Those were completely for fun. But it's just themes like that. But I would love to do something where it's with a lot of people and kind of create the same thing. It's almost like telling a story through my photos. I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, that's why I could see you. Like everything I see, and I'm like, wait a minute, this girl has some themes up her sleeve. But I know I've modeled for a lot of photographers, and so I know one time I did like a Bonnie and Clyde theme. I did a Phantom of the Opera theme, and I could just, if you took some of those things and did it with a lot of people, that could be so cool.
Well, yeah, and when you do themes, it's universal. So it's fun for me to be able to style someone, take pictures of them, but it's fun for the model as well, because I feel like normally models are told, hey, come in a nice outfit. But it's like when they come to me, they know that I'm going to style them. So it's that extra element that I bring when I'm taking someone's pictures, because normally 9 out of 10 times I probably let them take the clothes home. So it's theirs. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so what do I need it for? So I'll give them whatever I use, whether it's props or an outfit, I'll let them take it home. And I don't know, they have that momentum of like that moment too. So I always try to form like really good relationships with whoever I work with.
What's one of your least favorite things to take photos of?
Probably family portraits, just
Getting
because
the kids right. I was gonna say that. I've been on those Santa shoots where it's like,
it's a
wow.
lot of people's opinions at once, and I get like kind of overwhelmed a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, and a lot of people think they know more than you, huh?
Yeah.
How does that go?
Or I think they don't like that I pose them a certain way, even though I can see what they can't see.
Yeah.
So then I got in the habit of, when it's big shoots, I bring a huge mirror. I stuff a mirror in my little car. And just so people can see, like, hey, no, I'm telling you this because I want you to look the best version of yourself. I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to be picky, but because I'm trying to make you look good. Because I know I'd want to look good if I'm taking pictures of myself. So.
Wow. Yeah, I know that must be. And you do a lot of weddings too, huh?
I used to. I kind of died down after COVID.
Yeah, people weren't getting married anymore. Yeah,
COVID really
have
took
to-
me out creatively. I think when COVID hit, I questioned a lot of things of what I wanted to be, what did I wanted to produce. Now that I have the job that I have now, I think it motivated me to just keep taking pictures and find my niche. I love too many things, and sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing because I'm always debating on what I like so much. But,
And tell us a little bit about the job that you have now, if you can. I know you kind of
yeah,
work
so
for...
I'm a communication technician. I work for a school district. I do a lot of marketing and advertising for the school district, so it could be anything. So like I said, I self-taught myself graphic design because a lot of that work I do is kind of creating logos or just anything from stickers to magazines to newspaper.
You're adding the photos to the words to the this and that.
Taught myself how to work on websites. I love to write, even on like my personal life. I love to write. So then when I got this job, we sent out a newspaper to I think like 20,000 people, a lot of people. So I learned how to basically write, you know, short stories or interview people just like this and be able to form something.
Wow.
Mhm.
I love that, girl. You are so awesome. I want to follow you, see everything you're doing. So tell everybody where to follow you.
Disco Princess. It's everything. My whole social media is Disco Princess.
And I love that you're so available too. So like, if you want to book her, you really can. And I feel like you'll work with us. I feel like if you're booked 3 events that day, you'll squeeze us in.
Yeah,
so.
always.
Now I got to say, don't do some last minute stuff, but yeah, just text her and go on her social media and book her. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So I'm so happy. We're spending Thanksgiving together, and you have this amazing menu. Can you tell us about it?
Well, we have a 4-course Thanksgiving menu. We've got your 4 courses will include an appetizer choice, a salad, your main entree with sides. The entrees, the choices are, we have a pheasant dish, we're having duck breast, we have turkey, and then we're having ham with soft-boiled quail's egg on top. And then, oh gosh.
Vegan option.
Vegan option, oh yes. We have a stuffed acorn squash.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to do some risotto and
I love risotto. Oh my
flavors.
goodness. Okay, and then desserts.
yes, I've got a pumpkin persimmon mousse. What else do we have for dessert? Well, we've got all your pies, you know, your Thanksgiving pies, your pecan pie, salted caramel apple pie with a brandy whip. We've got a chocolate cake. We have to have a chocolate cake.
Oh, I love that. That's
So there'll be 2 choices. You'll have a molten lava or a chocolate toffee Kahlua cake. And
Wow.
both the chocolate cakes will have a white chocolate raspberry topping.
That sounds amazing. And so what's so cool about you, they brought you all the way from Maine, like the opposite side of the country.
Yes.
To make Thanksgiving so special for us. So how did you get involved in all this? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been working with food for over 30 years, as long as I can remember. My father he was a big influence on me for, you know, my love of food, my passion for it. You know, we do the chicken cordon bleu from scratch, and then my mother's cooking. We had all the Cuban dishes and the Spanish dishes because that's my background. Father was from Cuba, mother's from Spain.
Wow, that
So-
is some great culture right there. That's
Yeah.
2 of the best worlds.
Yeah, the food is amazing.
Oh,
from those
my
countries.
goodness.
All the great flavors. So I grew up with that, and that's where I got my love of food. And so I've just, you know, I've been doing a lot of seasonal work, and I bounced around for years, different places. So it gave me the ability to travel, which is nice because you try different cuisines, and I get to play with different types of food. Coming out here, I'm excited. I get to play with persimmon and.
Yes, you said you've never seen one before. That
No.
were you amazed by the texture? Because that is a really weird texture.
I was, and I tasted a ripe one and one that wasn't ripe. But, you know, and quite a difference. And
some are used for baking, some are just you eat. You know the
Right.
difference. Yeah.
And it's nice because you can use it in a dessert. You can use it with the meat. My menu after Thanksgiving, I'll have a lamb chop with a fig and persimmon white wine reduction. So, just the combinations.
It's so
Fantastic.
cool. You have such a rich background, and then what I find really odd and fascinating about you is you don't enjoy seafood, but you're great at preparing it, which I know a lot of people like that. They are great at preparing stuff they don't like vegetarians that prepare meat. So what's it like in Maine? Do you get tired of making seafood? You don't? Tell us a little bit about it.
No, Maine is beautiful. And actually, if you go coast to coast, North America on the East Coast and on the West Coast, they're very similar. They mirror each other. And I've been up to Washington State. Looks very much like Maine. But in Maine, you have the mountains, you have the coast, similar to California. So it's nice, it's beautiful. It's colder there, so I'll have a warmer winter.
So you learn kind of what the town likes, and so you had to really kind of make a lot of lobster stuff over there.
Oh yes, a lot of lobster.
Are you happy to take a little break from that right now?
A little bit, but I will be having paella on my regular menu.
And that's one of my favorite dishes. So I'm going to come for that. I'm going to be Thanksgiving. So what's right now? I know this is kind of seasonal for you. We're doing some big kickoff this weekend. What's a little bit of the structure of what's going to happen here at this at the narrow gauge?
Excuse me. So we're going to open with the Thanksgiving. We're going to do Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday and on Friday.
Perfect. So Friday, guys, it's still on the market. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're running it from 3 to 9. So you have people that like to have that meal early in the day, and some that like to come later in the day.
Right.
And then of course we have the Buffalo Bar right there, and the spirits are local, the wines are local, the beers. So everything we try to do as much local as possible. We've got a fine dining menu. After Friday, we'll go into more of a regular menu, a winter menu, and we'll have a pub menu as well. So if you don't want to have the big meal, you can get a bison burger, or go to the appetizer and get a game sampler platter.
All of that sounds amazing.
Bite-sized pieces of game meat with different sauces and reductions.
So right now, are we open? How often are we open right now?
4 days a week. We're starting out Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, perfect.
In about a month, we'll start expanding those hours.
Well, where we can be, and it's so great. I mean, we don't go into prices on the show, but it's so affordable to stay there. And I love a place you can go, have a different ambiance, have a couple cocktails, have some really good food, and no one wants to drive. And you could just stay there, enjoy some mountain air, wake up, crisp. Coffee, go for a little hike, and then go back. And so I love this whole thing, and I think George and I were talking about backstage. George Ohan, everybody, is part of this adventure, and he was pointing out how you really can go to an hour away from Fresno, and it's like Narnia, and it's true. It's it's so cool.
Absolutely.
It's you don't have to travel far around. We have everything at our fingertips, and I think you'll learn as you're here. You'll be like, well, it's just an hour away. Why are you making a big deal? Why don't you just go? And that we get a little stuck in our little areas.
That's my plan. Every now and then I'll come on down the mountain and hit the ocean.
Right. No, and so I thank you for giving us this experience, because you're going to bring so much culture to our Central Valley.
Well, thank you. One of the things I love about it is there's so much history in that area and in that building. I mean, you're minutes away from Yosemite. I'm a big fan of Theodore Roosevelt in history. So he's been to places in Maine where I've been. And we have a photograph of him hanging, or a portrait of him hanging in the Narrow Gauge Inn, in the restaurant right there. So he's been in this area. So
I love that.
The history is beautiful, the building is beautiful, the scenery. You're minutes away from the Narrow Gauge Railroad.
Well, and that's another thing we love here. We don't have the deep history that Maine, they was established first as colonizer. So we don't have all that. So I know they're kind of thirsty for older places. I mean, I work at a historical building that's over 100 years old. So I know the joy of it, the interestingness of it, the artifacts. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a really fun adventure. And you're going to be here at least for the winter.
At least.
At least the winter.
Yes.
So that's what you have to come on. And then there they also kind of have the activities we could do, because there's some snow activities that we can do.
Yes, and you've got the redwoods. Where else do you have those?
Oh my gosh, I know. How fun. Do you know how to ski?
I don't, and it's amazing that I never learned, but I'm usually too busy in the kitchen.
You're the one making us all. When we come down to
point
skiing,
to learn.
we come down and eat all the food. Wow. So what are some? I knew we're gonna maybe do some weddings up there and some fun stuff at some of these locations.
Yes, we're available for events, and Amar and Rajvi they own a few locations. So, if you want to come to Narrow Gauge and have your event, or you want to go over to Shaver Lake and have your event,
I love that.
To Tahoe. So there's
one-stop shop
options.
kind of. And so do you work with us, and this might be getting ahead of ourselves, so we do want to have a wedding. Do you work with us on the menu and kind of specialize it for us? I mean, you seem really open to cooking anything.
Right, and I have a passion for food, and I love to play with the food And so I love the opportunity to create a menu and to do that. And one of the things that drew me to this job and that I'm loving about this job is that I have that creative freedom and I have full support. So, you know, I'm able to work with the game meats, and that's going to be a regular thing on our menu.
Yeah, you said it wasn't really
meats.
gamey in Maine,
Right.
which kind of surprised me.
I don't know if it's the laws or what, but you don't see game meat on restaurant menus very often.
Well, we actually don't have a lot of it here, and that's what is really special about it. You would think we would, but that's going to be really something special that you're going to offer.
Well, and it's a big hunting area in Maine.
We should have more gaming restaurants. We really should. So I'm really happy that you're bringing that to us. What were some of the things that you like do not want to make, or that you will not attempt to make? And there's some like rare fishes that people let's stay away from. What's some stuff?
I'm not going to make cook a blowfish.
Okay.
It's just too much risk.
Okay.
You know, I've knock on wood, never given anyone food poisoning, and I intend to never let it happen. You know, that's just, it's a very risky one to work with, very tricky. You really have to have a special skill to not kill someone.
What was one of the most pain in the butt things to nail that you like you got to try over and over again to finally get it right?
When I first started cooking in Maine, the lobster.
So the texture was a hard thing to get just right.
And you did the time on it and the how you cook it.
You weren't happy with it for a lot of tries. Yeah.
Right. But practice, and I got there.
Wow, no, that's really interesting. And then what's one of your favorite things that you could that you love whipping up, like every time you're just like, I could do this all day, every day.
Ropa vieja. Hands down, ropa vieja.
What is that?
Ropa vieja is, I call it a Cuban dish, Spanish dish. There's a legend to the name ropa vieja. Ropa vieja means old clothes. It's shredded meat. You know, you use your peppers, your onions. It's in a tomato-based sauce, generally served over black beans and rice, some plátano maduros. Delicious. So the legend goes, there was this old man in Spain, and he was very poor, and his family was coming home, and an angel appeared and told him to put the old clothes in the pot and to stir it. And he did, and it turned into meat. And so they call it ropa vieja, which technically means old clothes. So
very unattractive name, but that sounds really good. The dish sounds really amazing.
It's you know, it's one of those funny things is, you know, to know the legend behind it. But it's an amazingly delicious meal. And here, I'm going to combine venison with the pork to make it. So it'll be a twist on the ropa vieja. So you get that Cuban flair and that Spanish flavor, and you'll get the game meat.
I love that. Wow, and that sounds like a challenge that you had to kind of combine these things.
Right. It's incredible what you can do when you combine your meats. If you combine the right ones, they really enhance the flavor of each other.
And this is a little like off topic and kind of personal, but what have you noticed like with COVID and prices? I know meat just kind of like soared up the price and everything. What's the difference between East Coast and West Coast? Like what have you noticed so far with that? Because I think that fascinates people.
After COVID hit, chicken and turkey. Chicken was so hard to get, and the price just skyrocketed.
Right.
I don't know what it was about chicken, but that was the highest priced one. And the prices would fluctuate. Even over the last 3 years, it's been kind of up and down. You know, some things harder to get. So, you know, whether it was not the transportation or the warehouse or the growers or what have you. But yeah, definitely poultry was the toughest.
Wow.
It's been the toughest.
So what about prices compared to East Coast and West Coast though? Because you have that like of Maine and everything. Have you noticed a big difference?
On gas prices. I was paying, $3.09, and now it's, you know.
Oh my goodness. So the meats kind of stay the same country because that's.
Yeah, well, now I'm working with more game meat.
So that's completely different. That's a whole other.
Right, you're going to pay more. I would say otherwise, you know, poultry, beef, pork, it's pretty comparable.
Awesome. So. Well, where can we follow you? Can we follow you on your personal Facebook and kind of see some of the dishes that you have? I know we can also follow the Narrow Gauge Inn, but what's your personal Facebook? We can look at it.
Doris Anne Rodriguez. It's my personal Facebook.
You're going to tempt us with food all day? Is that your thing?
That's what I'm going to do, yes. I'm going to make you hungry.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much for coming to California, coming to the Central Valley, and coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much for coming on my show today.
Thanks, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
So you have a really cool life and experience. Tell our viewers who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Kyle Marberger. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I actually grew up in a place called St. Mary's, Georgia. It's kind of like down near St. Simon's Island, near Savannah. And then I gravitated when my parents got divorced up to Atlanta. So I grew up in Northeast Atlanta. And then afterwards, I grew up in a military household, so I was destined to be in the military. So I was in the ROTC pretty much all through high school. And then I wasn't called to, serve until after 9/11 had happened. So when it did, I was happy. I was gung-ho. But my mental state was so concrete is because my dad wanted me to make sure I was staying in, straight and narrow. Because where I grew up was kind of like a ritzy area. Kids were kind of privileged and spoiled. He didn't want me to turn into that, like my own worst enemy. And so I dived into that. And so when I served, I didn't anticipate I'd get hurt. I thought it was just going to be a job and I'd do it forever. So when I did get injured, right, I stepped on an IED, suffered a spinal cord injury. It was the greatest blessing in my life, right?
You didn't know that at the time, though.
Yeah, I didn't know that it would be. And I had this opportunity, and so I seized the moment, as they say, because I didn't want to just sit there and feel sorry for myself, because in life, certain circumstances can change, but you have to make the choice. So I chose, this is my second chance at life. I'm going to take the most of it. I'm going to make the most of it, because taking full advantage rather than taking for granted is always the best possible success. And so that's what I've gravitated towards doing, is trying to bring light and positive energy to everybody I meet. So because life is way too short. It goes by so quickly, so, and I've learned, being in the hospital, being laid up in the bed, the amounts of surgeries I've had, you never know. You don't know, that's going to be your last time, your last breath, whatever. So once I was able to learn, go through rehab, rehabilitation, aquatherapy, shock therapy, learning how to walk and talk again, it was such a huge overcoming experience for me that I became my own inspiration at that point. And so I didn't stop there. You know what I mean? So now I'm really thankful you brought me on your show, because I met Coach Simons, who's a legendary high school football coach out in the Valley. He won uber dubers amounts of champions for Clovis High, the Cougars they call them. And then when he retired, he came out of retirement and built the Clovis North program, right? And I coincidentally, took a part-time job at Fort Washington, and that's where I met him. He was one of my regulars that would come in at 5 in the morning, and we went to the same physical therapy center as well. So we'd always connect and we'd always talk, and he just was like, tell me your story. I kind of gave him a little bit of insight of who I was. He's like, so you played high school football? And I was like, yes, sir, I did. Because we had talked about football, and he heard over me talking to a coworker. It's like, yeah, I love playing football. I was a cornerback, for Brookwood High School, which is one of the most powerful high school football teams in the country. And so for
And that was
me,
in Atlanta.
yeah, and this is why this story is so incredible. We were the Brookwood Broncos, and I just got done winning a Valley championship for the Clovis North Broncos, for the 9th grade level. Yeah, so he just said, there's no such thing as a coincidence. I believe that you're going to inspire these kids. I believe that you're going to help them, encourage them to turn their act around, because a lot of these kids are a little bit not level-headed. They're a little bit spoiled, and it reminded me
Of your
my childhood.
Yeah.
And I got it. I figured it out. I figured out this is my niche. And I always wanted to coach football, right? And I believe that this is my opportunity to get in, and this was a huge opportunity, because going in, first time ever coaching in my life, I did an extraordinary job, and no one thought that we had this opportunity to be so good. We went 9-1. Only loss was to Clovis High, right? Which is, coincidentally, it was Coach Simon's old alma mater, that he coached for many years. But it didn't matter. And the way I teach these kids, it's, that loss, when you're young, it feels like it's the end of the world. It feels like you lose everything in yourself. And I reminded them after that game, they were crying, they had, the tears got puffy in their eyes.
Clovis parents are very hardcore, so I imagine they were scared to go home.
It was tough, but I let them know how you respond today sets the tone for the rest of your life. And anything that happens, right? I always reminded them, this is your story, this is your journey, it starts with you. So the very next game, we played our arch rival, the Buchanan Bears, and we beat them 35-0.
Wow, that is so cool.
Right. So. And then we ended up winning the Valley Championship. We beat Clovis West. And they had this kid that was like a little Tom Brady. I mean, this kid was unreal, right? If
You've never seen anything like it.
you can look up the stats of him on maxpreps.com. This kid was phenomenal, but we stopped him. We did it together. So it took a team effort all this season, where a lot of these parents from previous grades were like, oh, these kids are rambunctious. These kids are too wild. They're not going to be able to focus. You can't get this team to do good, right? They just want to have fun. That's what set the tone. That was the difference, and that's why we beat most of the teams that we played, because we loved each other. We had this camaraderie, this brotherhood, this family, right? And there's this one kid in particular, right? His name's Micah. He inspired me, right? And the kid was just like far ahead of his time, but he reminded me of myself when I was young.
I love that.
Because he inspired the kids. And you never hear about this at the 9th grade level, freshman level, of a football player inspiring his team. You hear that at the varsity level, of course, that's normal. But to have him be so unique and rare, and his exploitation of like inspiring people, like he would get them pumped up at halftime. And I fueled his fire, so to speak. So I kind of gave him behind the scenes a little bit, tidbits on what you should do and how you would be so unique by helping them and how rallying your team together. Because we can do extraordinary things if they know that you're the leader and they look to him. So they look to him for guidance, because it wasn't about me. And that's what Coach Simon loved about me, is that I celebrated humility. It wasn't about my story. It wasn't about my journey. This is about theirs. I'm part of theirs. I'm part of their story. I'm going to help them, right?
Wow.
So that was where, it came into the recipe for what I've overcome, is that I wanted them to do the same.
That is so great. And so, I mean, a book. There's got to be a book about this.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. I'm hoping that at some point, once I get my feet wet a little more and more established in the coaching realm, that my end game, my goal, is actually going to be when Clovis South opens up in 2025, right? And I know Coach Simon's, he's 80 plus years old. He said, I'm going to write you a recommendation letter just in case I don't come back, because I've been coaching for 65 years, Kyle.
Wow.
It's your time. It's your turn. Like, here is the mantle. I want you to step on it. I want you to take over. And so if I'm able to do that for him, right, take over as the freshman coach, I'm ready to do it. And he was already impressed with me. First year coaching, because it wasn't so much strategy, it wasn't so much play calling ability, it was who I was as a person. It separated myself from every other coach, because we wanted them, the kids, he knew, you're going to be an inspiration to these kids, and they're going to look up to you. You're going to leave an impression on them that will last forever, right? And and being relatable to these kids is such a beautiful thing, because as a child, you're young, you're impressionable, right? And so I kind of related to that aspect of it. So I was able to adapt it, as an adult, and say, hey, I can help you. I can be your leader. I can be your friend. I can also be your coach. It wasn't just I'm your coach. And that's a lot of times, often most coaches forget that. They forget it's not all business. These are kids. They need your guidance. They need your compassion, right? It's not so much your leadership and your demand for perfection. You have to understand that people are imperfect, and the kids especially.
And I think teaching them failure, that was so good for you, because I think all the successful people fail again and again.
Absolutely.
So to say, you can't beat yourself, you can't be crying. This is going to happen again. This moment is going to happen again. So
it was one of these things. I didn't really worry too much about them not overcoming. I worried about them thinking they couldn't. So I wanted them to know they could, right? I wanted them to change the mindset, saying, I don't want you to think and worry that things are going to never be the same. No, you're not even going to remember this time in your life. You're not even going to remember it. Right now you do, because it's set in stone, it's kind of current, but you're going to move past it, and you're not even going to think about it again, because when you set the tone for what is going to be ahead in your life, it starts right now, right? My biggest thing is I tell them the journey's just begun, but the best is yet to come. That's
very true.
Yeah, that's my kind of little mantra to myself, because of the experience that I have, and I wanted to share that with them. And so after our season had ended and we won, 9-1 season, a few of my players, they got bumped up to varsity, and they got to play in the playoffs.
Wow.
Because of their hard efforts and their hard work, they got to play. Some of them got to start and play in the playoffs. Even though they got knocked out, it didn't matter. Because I told them some of them are getting a little bent out of shape. Like,
I love that.
No, you made it. Your hard work and everything me and Coach Simons taught you, it paid off.
You utilized it.
Yeah, you did it. You got yourself here, not us. We were merely just the martyrs for your happiness, but your success all came from you.
I love that.
You know what I mean? So it was just one of these things, the effort play, we call. If you put in the effort on each and every play, and you play every single down to the end, there's no way you're going to lose. It doesn't matter if they got more yards than you, they have more points than you. It doesn't matter. If you're playing your hardest with your whole heart, you're never going to lose. And that's just the adamant attitude that I have, coming from a big powerhouse football program, And we only became that powerhouse because we beat the number 2, high school team in the country at the time, Valdosta High School, and they were beating the heck out of everybody in the country, and we beat them in the state championship.
That is so cool.
And it randomly happened, and it was a blessing. It was a journey and experience, but I would rally people up. I played defense as a cornerback. My job is to cover, receivers, but I loved hitting, and that's kind of a rare thing. Usually corners don't like to really hit. They like to make the plays and do the dances and shake and bake and take it to the end zone. But for me, I like to light people up and hit them. It's a gridiron game, and where I'm from, like, football is like, it's everything. The South is football is life pretty much. And so
Clovis is a little bit where you get a glimpse of that, because I know it's not the whole, but you saw that little hub right there.
I saw the intensity. I saw the work ethic. I saw the conditioning, which I really admired. I appreciated people's efforts in that, creating such an opportunity for these kids. Literally, if they do everything we're asking them to do, there's no way they can fail, in essence. But I didn't want to bring my tenacity of things that I experienced so much about, like, football. I wanted to bring my experiences as me, as a person. I didn't want to make it about me. And I think that's sometimes a lot of coaches do forget that, because it's cool to think about the glory days. Well, back when I was this.
Right.
It's easy to go to that route, but it's not necessarily the route that they need to hear. They need to hear about you now. How did you get here? How did you get to this place right now? Right? And that was the difference maker, because coach would always have, before each and every game, after practice, he'd always have each coach, like, just say a few words. Some of these coaches, they didn't really, they haven't had the life experience that Coach Simons and I have had.
Right.
So they didn't really have much. They didn't offer, what the kids needed. They were abundantly clear on how to help them, strategically. But it's the mythology of football is it's emotion. It's an emotional game, right? It's a competitive sport.
Is it true that it's 85% mental? Because the way what you're saying right now makes me like, okay, so it really is.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
100%. And a lot of, like, is emotions involved, right? Because if your mental state is good, your emotion's going to be intact.
Right.
And that's why, having that be kind of in sync with each other and play with each other, it's going to be good. Because I would kind of base it on this. I tell the kids, look, think of your heart as defense. Okay? It's defending bad things from happening to you. It's the strongest muscle pretty much in your body. But then think about your brain. It's also strong too. That's your offense. Make good decisions. Make good plays in life. Right? And you get to the end zone. You'll be successful. So that's kind of my mindset, that I would kind of break it down for them in layman's terms. So some of the kids would kind of gravitate towards, oh, I see what you're saying, Coach. I understand what you're saying. And so being able to relate to them on that level, I would be not so much a mentor, a coach, but a teacher. And that's what because Coach Simons had noticed right away, you got a passion for kids. You know what I mean? And I'll be candid with you, and I appreciate the show. I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. And so it was one of these things where I felt really good about having to be able to, when I became a father myself, I have 2 daughters, it was such a fulfilling thing. So I had such a history of, good reputation of being, parent, type person. And so I had that soft spot, I guess you could say. And so it was one of these things, like, having that opportunity, he saw that. And he was like, you must have kids. I was like, yeah, I got a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old. Yeah. I got an adult now. So, and I've experienced all these things, and what I've taught them through my life is that, you're never stop learning. And what I learned the most from Coach Simons is, go one day at a time. One day at a time. That's all you can do.
It's overwhelming to go any more than that.
Yeah. And to be quite frank, it was bittersweet that it ended, but it ended in such a beautiful way. We won the Valley Championship. We beat pretty much everybody in the Valley except one team. It didn't matter. Because, this coincidentally actually happened. So the team that beat us, right, the team that we beat in the championship was the one that beat them.
Wow.
So it was bragging.
So it went full circle.
It was perfect.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up.
That is so incredible.
What I mean? You can't make this stuff up. So it was one of these things. Everything was set in stone. It was prerequisited to, for us to be successful, to us to learn from these experiences, journey. We came from a team that nobody thought was going to be successful. Everybody, all these parents are being catty.
Isn't that awesome?
And it's like, look at us now. And Coach Simons always say, don't listen to that chit chatter. Focus on you, better in you. Listen to Coach Kyle and I. Other coaches are here to help too. We're here for you. We're on your team. We're on your side. But this is your team. This is your family. And that, like I said earlier, is like, that's what really set us apart. You see a lot of the other teams that we play, you know, in any sport actually, you know, just if they're not, there's no camaraderie, there's no like laughing.
There's no I in team, so you really have to.
If nobody's smiling
Right.
or happy or a little bit, then it doesn't matter how great their players are. It doesn't.
Where can we follow you to see like all this? And if people want some inspiration or advice, I know you're so great on social and getting back to us. Where can
Yeah.
we follow you for all that?
Well, I have a Facebook account, but I don't really have like I'm not like a digital creator per se.
That's fine. What's your face? Tell everyone your Facebook.
La Smile Kyle. So it's pretty simple. It's just a nickname, you know, an old lady friend gave to me because I'm always happy and positive. So I'd always smile, right?
Do the kids call you that too?
No, they didn't call me that. But I appreciated them, like, just understand. They kind of gave me a nickname called Coach Boogie, right? Because I would kind of dance a little bit.
You dance.
Because I can boogie, you know? So I feel, you know, like they would play music and I would just feel the beat and get loose. I want kids to be relaxed, you know?
You know, we're going to ask you with your injury and everything. Well, the biggest thing that I hear all the time about, you know, kids, sports, everything, there's always that kid that did that play they shouldn't have played on and played injured and messed up their stuff forever and then couldn't go to that next level.
Sure.
Is that happening a lot now? And how do you stop that? Because now that you're very aware of your body and what happened and what other, how does that play into what you're doing with these kids?
Because, like I was mentioning, I really love Clovis sports in the way, like the conditioning I was talking about, because we didn't really have that. It was more just gridiron, fight through the pain.
Yeah, yeah.
Like my coaches would be like, okay, you broke
So
it.
that's why our generation said, yeah.
Like they're looking after the kids now. They're really taking care of them.
So that's not so much a problem anymore.
No.
So now people are not, you're not sending injured kids back in
No.
there and you pull them out and
No.
they become okay with it.
They have to be cleared, medically cleared.
Okay.
They have a 2-week window. And if the doctor says after those 2 weeks they cannot be, they are not legally bound to.
And you
because we would be liable.
You coach them through it and be like, don't worry about this. Like, look, I'm telling you from personal experience, let this slide. You have to heal yourself.
Yeah, because when you're in the service, sometimes you have to fight through everything. The elements change, the surroundings.
Oh, they don't care about your well-being at that point.
Not one bit. Just being candid, they don't care.
How's everything now going for you?
I'm good. I'm done with physical therapy as of like a year and a half ago or so.
Do you still have a lot of pain or?
I do, but I do kind of like aloe vera juice. I started taking that recently, so I found that it helps. And I do like this plant-based, like it's like a protein powder that I mix it with coconut milk. So it's kind of good for your overall health, you know, immunity system, like. Because I want to feel healthy, but I want to feel like I'm not weak. Does that make sense?
And you can't do as much as you want to physically, so you have to. So now, wow.
Because I've lost a lot of dexterity in my hands, right? But my upper body's gotten drastically stronger, you know, because my lower extremities don't really work. Because when you suffer a spinal cord injury, it really sets the tone and sets you back. Because it's essential. It's like a central nervous system. You know, when you affect that, it affects your whole body.
Right.
Everybody's getting beat up, and you know, so for me, I was fine as long as my physical therapist taught me. A few of them did. Work on the muscles that you do have, and make those
you started
strong,
compensating.
right? But then work on the muscles you used to have, but keep them active, because the worst thing can happen is that you don't want to have atrophy, because atrophy is a real thing, and when you're not active, that's naturally the body wants to go to sleep. It doesn't want to feel like irradiated, you know? Like when I wake up, it's a good feeling. I do have my chronic pain that I deal with, but
I imagine.
I don't let it consume me. Like I was weaned off a lot of medication.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, because it's poison, you know, and to me, I don't believe in it.
And you're going to be in pain forever. Like you said, it's chronic pain. So at what point are you like, I mean.
And when I had one final surgery, I had spinal cord injury, you know, like having a spinal, like they basically take Harrington rods, which are these metal rods, right? And they open up your back and they put these rods to straighten what's been ruined, right? And they kind of like reinforce your spine, okay? So having the Harrington rods, you know, having that spinal fusion really helped me. It helped me kind of straighten my back, make me stronger, you know, make me healthier. And so I lost so much weight. I probably lost like 50 plus pounds, but I gained it all back. I gained it all back because I started eating healthier, started taking care of myself. And so, you know, chronic pain, it really kind of is something I'll have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But I deal with it in moderation, meaning like I know my limitations.
Right.
And I know that when I need to sit down, right? But during coaching, I'll tell you this, it's great that you're asking me this because it's important for people to know, like, I suffer through this every day, but I don't let it get in my way. And that's the difference maker.
Very much seems like that.
Yeah, I just don't.
You're such an inspiration.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on my show,
Yes, ma'am.
Kyle.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, I love the way you guys sound. How long have you all been a band?
Like since April.
That's it? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, a live band since April, but I think like a real band since 2020 was it 2021?
2021, yeah.
Yeah, sometime in early 2021.
How'd y'all get together?
Honestly, that started like we were just making music with our friends, and we ended up just wanting to make a different kind of music from our friends.
And then you guys were like, we jive the best together out of all of the friends?
Well, it's more like we like the same kind of music, so it was kind of just a no-brainer just to start making music together.
So what's the same kind of music? What does that entail? What do you consider yourself?
Just general indie, shoegaze type
Yeah.
of music. You know, nothing crazy, nothing expanded out of
We like to
experimental sound.
we like to call ourselves dream gaze.
Yeah, it's a good way
Yeah.
to put it, I guess.
Yeah,
How'd you guys get the name Paradise Blossom?
that's for him to answer.
I just like the word blossom, and I was like, well, let's just add one more word in front of it. I guess Paradise was the one that worked, so Paradise Blossom kind of stuck with it, so that's how we got that name. Nothing crazy about that.
There's like not some crazy backstory behind it.
Yeah.
So when you guys play covers and original music, both, or just original?
Oh, no, we for the most part play original music. We have played covers before.
Because I heard you like previewing a little bit of cover-ish stuff, so.
Yeah, like, we like to mess around with like covers of actual songs because you know the songs are already made and like
Right.
you just got to learn how to play them and stuff like that. But for the most part, when it comes to like our original set, we just play mostly original music.
So who's the writing genius behind it? Who writes the lyrics?
Yeah,
He
write
keeps
some
pointing at
lyrics.
you
He
for
writes
everything.
the lyrics.
Yeah, yeah. When it comes to lyrics, yeah, like I write them.
Wow, okay, and then how did you get involved? Because you're with the band, but not with the band. Explain all this.
We're just really good friends.
Yeah.
But you opened for them?
Can we shout out to Bummer Days though? That's his band.
Okay, so you have another band that opened for them.
No, we opened for him recently.
You guys opened for, okay, so explain how all that works.
Well, we just play shows. Like, I wanted to play my first show, and then I just set it up with the homies, you know? Got a few groups together that are all, like, friends, and we just played a show. Just for fun, you know?
Super fun.
Yeah.
It was a really good show.
It was fun.
But he's like also just like an honorary member. Like he's just always got to be here for us. You know?
And you
Always
sometimes
kicking it.
jam with them too, with the.
Yeah, well, like, you know, hop on instruments and stuff like that. Like, when they went on tour with another band earlier this year, I helped them out with, you know, sound and production needs and stuff like that, just because they're some of my best friends. So
I know a little bit newer because you've been doing it for a little bit longer, or.
and we've been doing it about the same amount of time. Yeah.
So you went on tour already? Where'd you guys go tour on?
Just up and down California, San Francisco, Los
so
Angeles, San
cool.
Diego.
That's still such a great experience. Just doing the States, our state's so huge, and like you must have saw a lot of cool things.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
So you guys had like a tour bus,
No, we
No, we had a band.
We had a band.
and you guys all got along?
Yeah, we actually took some extra people with us too.
No way.
It was really fun, and I think that was a crazy experience because, like we said, we've only been a band since what, like April.
Yeah, beginning
So-
of this.
So beginning of
this year.
April to August is when we went on tour, and it was like nothing. Like we just happened to happen, which was
Was it cool to get like new fans? Because I'm sure like some people like had no idea who you were, and then they hear you and they're like, "Wow, this is so cool." Was that like a really cool experience?
Yeah, it's just fun, you know, to see that like these people like they do hear the music we're playing, they do come to watch, and like you know we don't know who these people are, but yet they're still showing a form of support, and that's like something that like.
Wow.
And we love to meet all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we love when people walk up to us and say what's up. Like we're not like those kind of people. We'll say what's up to anybody.
So where can we get your music? Where can we download all that?
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, pretty much everything. Bandcamp. I don't know if you guys know what Bandcamp is.
I
but
don't know what Bandcamp, but I want to know what that is.
Bandcamp is just like another website to display music, but you can actually like purchase through there. Like you can buy it and save it. You don't have to have like Spotify. Or
It's like a way
anything.
to actually support the artist. Like you can pay for their. You're actually as a fan, you're paying for their music.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
An
Okay.
individual band.
It's like selling a record, you know? Like you
But
buy
it's all
it.
it's all digital, all online. Everything when it comes to all of our music, everything's online. Like I don't think we have anything physical right now.
Well, isn't that the way it kind of is moving for a lot of artists? So
Definitely.
I want to hear from the Shy Guy. You guys, how long have you've been in the band from the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little, yeah. So,
This is his little brother.
Yeah,
so did you drag him into the band, or he wanted to be with it?
kind of like both.
So now you're happy that you're here because you are very talented. So that's cool. So you're the only two brothers, and then you guys, the rest of you
No,
all.
we're all brothers.
One way or another.
Yeah,
One way or another, yeah.
We did the
We're
fun pack.
we're all super close. We all hang out all the time. We're actually the same people that are in the band are all in our same friend group.
So are you at the point now? You know, a lot of people are listening to you, you've been touring, and people are downloading your music. Are people like singing along to your songs?
Yeah, I've actually experienced that the first time with the show that we opened up for him. You know, I was singing a song and then it was singing. I think it was it might have been "Runaway," but yeah, I think people were singing to it, and I was like, "How do you guys know these words?" I was more thinking like, "Why do you guys know this song?" So this is something better.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh, I love that story. But that's a true artist. You're always kind of critical. You're like, well, I like this one better, and like that. That was like, you're like, that's my older work, this is my newer work.
It's still fun though, like watching people being able to like vibe out to our music. It's kind of crazy. Like we have a song called "Change Your Mind," and that song people go nuts. Like started a mosh pit and everything. Like it's super fun. We just had a show in Davis this past Saturday, and man, that was a crazy pit.
Shout out to Ham.
Wow.
Yeah, shout out to our friend Ham Stay for taking us out there. It was a super good experience. It was really packed too. For being at like, well, it was like 60, 50 degrees. Like there was like a gang of people there.
It was cold.
Who's the most serious one out of all of you?
What do you mean by serious?
That keeps you guys like on the straight and narrow. That's all about the music. When you guys come to play, you're like, okay, let's focus.
No, none of us are like that.
Yeah, it's more like we all kind of run it together. Like, all right, if one of us not feeling it, none of us are feeling it. If all of us are feeling it,
Who's the
we'll
most
all do it.
wild one of the band?
Well, that also depends, like in terms of.
Kind of wild.
Yeah, we're kind of wild. We're all pretty
Yeah,
wild.
we're all pretty. we kind of can't answer that question. We have to really think about that one.
Because we all jump off stage, we all mosh, we all just do funny stuff together, and it's like we're all pretty wild in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
So can we book you for parties? Like if we're throwing a party, can we book you? What do we do? How do we go through that?
I mean, right now we're kind of like on a little bit of an off-season kind of thing, you know.
Oh, so
Because
you're available now, but you might not be. I get it.
we-
I get how it is.
We've done a good amount of shows this year, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think we ever played parties, but
But if someone wants to have a birthday party and they want to pay you, you're gonna come, right?
I mean, all you gotta do is just ask us, and you know, either we're available or we're not, and yeah, we love to do it though.
do you guys talk about your schedule like on Instagram and everything? So we know when we can see you on your next show.
Oh, every time.
Yeah. We'll
Perfect.
post when we have we have a show coming up. We'll always post like before that. But yeah, when it comes to like availability, yeah.
When's the
I
next
can't predict
one?
that.
January.
Yeah, next year, January probably.
Where?
I don't even know where we booked in January.
The Destruction Warehouse.
You're
Oh,
the
Destructive
manager,
Warehouse.
so you know.
No,
I think you're the
Destructive-
honorary manager right
Yeah,
now.
we're playing with our friends Bad Spring, and we're playing with Bummer Days as well at a local like venue.
So
that,
now venues can kind of book you. Now you're available kind of another.
Well, that's in
venue scene.
January.
It's not. Yeah, the thing is, it's not the venues booking us. It's like
the bands.
the band is booking us. The band's like, hey, do you guys want to play with us? And that's usually how it goes. That's how it's actually been going for every show we played. You know.
Wow.
It's cool because we're pretty good friends with a lot of like bands, and we know a lot of bands as well as people know who we are. So it's
Well,
like,
that's cool. When other bands give you that cred, then you're all good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much for coming up on my show. And then everyone needs to follow you. So it's Paradise Blossom on Instagram, Twitter, or just Instagram.
I think we just have
That's it.
Instagram.
Just
yeah.
Instagram.
That's it. Only Instagram. But you guys are good at like responding
yeah.
Yeah.
to messages. So you guys can DM them if you want them at your party or want to see their next show. So.
Oh, also we have TikTok. So
Oh, TikTok. Okay, and
yeah.
Paradise Blossom.
Yeah, same thing.
So Paradise Blossom on TikTok, guys. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
for
for having
having
us,
us.
Sparkle.
Now let's give it up for Paradise Blossom. Yay!
try leaving out the back, but you stopped me in my tracks and held my hand and asked me to dance. I'm staring into your eyes, you're holding me close tonight, we're lost in place. If only you could see my face. If only you could see my face. If only you could see my face. No, you won't remember my name. If only you could see my Thank you. That was 90s From. This next one is called Run Away With Me. Thank you. We're Paradise Blossom.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here. Oh, I must confess, dear. Don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do. And there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend. Playing pretend. Playing pretend. Ooh, playing pretend.
It's a mystery.